Recording.
Hi.
Hi, guys.
Hi. How are you?
Oh my gosh. That's a lot of people. But I'm excited. I'm excited. This is going to be great.
You got this.
All right.
We are here for you. And again, I told you I've got your back. I am right here.
Thanks, Casey.
Thank you everyone for coming to our first free tutor class. We're so excited because this is like, it's one thing to start a first free class with our tutors with like, I don't know, let's say like the 7 dimensions, right? Like something a little like ease into it. And no, we are going straight into the dirt and the mud and amazingness. And it's amazing that you, Fatima, had the, bravery to say, hey, I want to do this one. So I'll let you take it over. I'll be here in the chat and whatever you need, I'll be admitting. I'm so excited. So thank you all for coming.
This one is going to be fun. So I know that this is kind of a challenging topic for a lot of people. The way that I had it explained to me, the way that I like to teach it, it breaks it down. So basically, we're just going to do an overview of the logic or the rationale behind stimulus equivalence, breaking down, the 3 probes of stimulus equivalence. And then we're going to go into how do you break down a question that you get on a test, like using the triangle. So I'm actually going to model that for you. I have a whole task analysis. By the end of this, hopefully you will have a really good understanding of how to at least answer, the basic triangle. But just a little disclaimer, this is just the basics, so if you want to learn more about stimulus equivalence, and there's a lot more to learn, just head on over to your local ABA textbook, because we are not going to be able to cover everything there is here. So just a little disclaimer there for you, but hopefully it'll be a good way to kick off your ability to gain some knowledge from your reading. All right, so I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Fatima Othman. I am a BCBA. I'm also a former special education teacher, so I've been in the field of ABA for probably about 2 years, and I love it. I left teaching to do this because this is so much cooler, I think. Even though I love teaching, teaching will always be my first love. For tutoring, I am a SNABA tutor, as Casey mentioned, and here is the website if you wanted to book a session with me. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, my page is still pretty lame. It's FR Wonderful. I don't have a lot of things, but if more people start to follow, maybe that'll kind of prompt me to post more. So that's a little bit about me. What else? I'm a mom. I have a teenager. He's about to be 14, and an 8-year-old boy, and a husband. And I like kayaking. I like outside of ABA, I like kayaking. Like Liat, I'm obsessed with like anything true crime. So true crime podcasts when I'm not listening to the behavior bitches. And I don't know if anyone here also likes Dr. Pimple Popper. That's like my other big obsession.
I'm obsessed with it. It cringes me every time, but I keep watching.
I know. I don't know. Something about like the relief after. Yeah, I don't know.
Negative reinforcement.
Calming for me in a weird way. Yeah. So that's a little bit about me. Let's get into it. All right. So this is going to cover, this is going to come from your chapter 19 and your Cooper 3rd edition. I'm not sure where it is in the 2nd edition. I don't have the 2nd edition. I have the international version. So
I will say that the 2nd edition, it's a very small part of a chapter. It's like 1.5 pages, I think. In Cooper 3, it is like 2 full chapters. So
yeah,
big difference. So that's why we're teaching this.
Right. For those of you taking or about to test for task list 4, this will be your FK12 and your E6. And for task list 5, it will be your B15 and G12. All right, so I'm going to start by just doing a small exercise with you. And this is not moving.
While she's doing this real quick,
there we go.
Make sure you guys have a piece of paper out. Okay, we're going to be drawing some stuff that you need to draw out. So
yeah, thanks, Casey. Get your pretty pens out.
Yeah.
All right, so let's start. We're going to try with this. This little monster is called a woggle. if I present you with a picture of the monster and ask you to match, hopefully you all choose Wuggle. If not, please come see me for tutoring. All right, I'm also going to tell you that this little monster is a monster that eats children. Let's do another match to sample. And hopefully you chose a monster that eats children, the one in the middle. Now, if I present you with a card that says monster that eats children, and I ask you to match, hopefully you will have chosen Wuggle. So basically what I did was I directly taught you two relations. I taught you the picture of the monster is a Wuggle, and the picture of a monster is a monster that eats children. For me teaching you those two things, this is what you actually learned. So here we have all the stimulus equivalence relations right here. So that's essentially the breakdown of stimulus equivalence in a really, really simple way. And what it is basically the emergence of accurate responding to untrained or non-reinforced stimulus-stimulus relations. So that's going to be your textbook definitions. In other words, if I teach you two things, you're going to be able to respond to a stimulus-stimulus relation in a way that you've never responded to before, that you've never encountered before, and that's never been reinforced before. Yet somehow you knew to do it, and it was correct. Basically what we did was we created something called an equivalence class. We formed an equivalence class, which means that we were able to have three separate stimuli, and we were able to relate them to each other so that they are all equal, meaning that you can change them out or they become interchangeable with each other. So if I say monster, you say what? I say Wuggle, they're both the same thing. We created an equivalence class. The way that you know that you have an equivalence class is through three probes. So it requires an accurate performance on a reflexivity, test of reflexivity, a test of symmetry, and a test of transitivity. And you do all these in the absence of training or reinforcement. I'm so sorry, you guys. That was my husband's phone.
Life happens, baby. Yeah, no worries.
Here, I'm gonna let him come get it. All right. The rest of my phones are on silent, so hopefully we won't have any more interruptions. Okay. All right, but basically the test for reflexivity, symmetry, and transitivity, these are tests in which you respond in a novel way that has never been reinforced before. And so let's look at what each of those mean. So reflexivity, or also another way to think about it, is identity matching. This is when you're matching a stimulus to itself without it previously being trained or reinforced. I don't need to teach you that A equals A. You can already derive that from these tests of stimulus equivalence. So if I show you a cat, you can basically match it to the same item, the identical cat. For symmetry, this is basically reversing a sample stimulus and comparison stimulus in the absence of training or reinforcement. So if you're familiar with symmetry, this is going to be your A equals B. And if I present you with a stimulus B, you're going to be able to tell me that it equals A. Now, I didn't teach you that. I taught you A, and then you chose B, and now you're able to reverse it. Casey, I see people asking to be admitted. Are you able to admit them on your end?
Yeah, I'm admitting everyone. You just keep teaching, and I've got the admit going.
All right, great. All right, so this is what it looks like. If I teach you that the stimulus, which is the image of the cat, and I teach you to say the word cat, you can reverse that. So if I say the word cat, you can choose the image of the cat. And the same thing with the word cat, right? The written word cat. If I show you the image of a cat and teach you to select the written word cat, you can reverse that as well. So that if I show you the written word cat, you can select the image of the cat. That's symmetry. So think of it like when I think of symmetrical, I think of like anything that's symmetrical, right? So you have two sides of the same thing. I don't know, I like to think of like a butterfly, right? Each wing is symmetrical to the other wing. They look the same. They're opposites of each other. So you're just reversing it. And finally, transitivity. So this is probably the the test that's really going to show that stimulus equivalence has happened and that you really have formed an equivalence class. This emerges as a result of teaching two of the stimulus-stimulus relations. So in the cat example, those relations that I taught you, from that, you're going to be able to create a brand new stimulus-stimulus relation. So I taught you A equals B, and I taught you B equals C. You were able then to show me that A equals C without me ever having to teach you that. So right here, after I taught you these two learned relations right here, this is what you learned. This is what you are now able to do without me ever having to teach you. So if I present you with the written word cat, you're able to say cat. And if I say cat, you're able to choose the card cat. So essentially that's what it is, you know, I never taught you how to do it, and yet you were able to do it on your own and for your answer to be correct without ever having to contact reinforcement. And that's why it's so cool, because I mean, we know that learning happens because of reinforcement, that it increases future behavior because of reinforcement. Yet in this case, the reinforcement never happened, yet you were still able to respond correctly. All right. Anyone have any questions up until this point? Because what I'm going to do next is I'm going to show you how to break down questions.
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm looking at the keywords.
Okay.
Without previously trained or reinforced. If I use, I guess I use another term would be probing. I want to probe it.
Exactly, and that's what it is. Those are probes. So right here, it's accurate performance on 3 types of probe trials, right? So reflexivity, symmetry, and transitivity, those are all probes. Okay. That you're able to respond under these probe trials, like you said, and you're able to basically generate a new kind of response without me ever having taught you how to do it. So that's the idea of stimulus equivalence, is that because I taught you 2 things, but you get so many other things for free from just having learned the 2.
Okay, I'm a little bit confused. So you taught me 2 things, then the third part, there will be the transitivity. I don't know how to say the word, the last one, transitivity, am I right?
Yes, transitivity.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
But it's not just transitivity though.
But you see, you taught me the first 2, the reflexivity, but the definition of reflexivity and symmetry were untrained and non-reinforced responses.
So what I trained you, okay, so let's look at symmetry. So I trained you that A equals B. Let's look at the picture here, okay? These solid lines right here represent the learned relation, right? This is what I taught you. In the presence of the image cat, I taught you to say cat. Okay. That means that I reinforced it. I taught you how to do it, I prompted it, and then when you said cat, I reinforced.
Okay.
Okay. Now without reinforcement though, when I reverse it and I say the word cat, you are able to select the image of cat.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
Cool. Thank you.
All right,
great. I will say also, and that's a great point, that there is no stimulus equivalence happening without some type of teaching, right? You've got to teach something. Like, and I think that like a lot of people miss that. They're like, all right, untrained. It's like, the point is that you've got to teach something for them to learn. And then you get it for free, right? And that's like, if you imagine all the things you've learned in your lifetime, were you taught all of them? No, you derive them, right? And that is the biggest part of like, how can we be good teachers and good BCBAs through this amazing, you know, stimulus equivalence phenomena that like is so true. And it's hard to wrap your head around it, but when she gets into these examples, you're going to be like, get it.
Yeah. Okay. And you guys, I've seen mock exam questions out there where they kind of try to trick you and they tell you that there's, you know, only one taught relation. Be careful of those. You cannot get stimulus equivalence without having 2. You need to have 2 things that are taught, 2 things that are learned, 2 things that are reinforced before stimulus equivalence can happen. You cannot do it by just teaching one leg of this. If I only teach you to say the word cat in the presence of the image cat, there's nothing else you can do with that. except perhaps maybe just reverse it. But there's no other, and we can't call that a class formation, an equivalence class formation. So that's really key, is to, when you're reading the questions, look to make sure that there's two learned relations.
Are we going to get a slides after this? Just curious.
I think these will be recorded, so I think you can come back and watch this, but no, I don't think we're gonna share the slides necessarily. I don't know, Casey. Casey, can you answer that question?
I thought I was unmuted. I'm like talking and telling everyone. Not slides, no, but it will be on YouTube for free on Study Notes ABA for our, we're gonna start a new video thing for Tutor Spotlight. So it will be there.
Okay.
So I'm just looking in the chat real quick before we move on.
Yeah.
I want to just see, oh, here I've got readmitted. Someone had said, what is probing again? So probing is when you're just like, you're checking in without providing any reinforcement. Can they do it, right? Like if you ask them a question, right? Like, or a match, can they match this? You're just probing. Probing is like, I like to think of just checking in. How are they? What level are they at? Do they get it or not? Right? You're not providing any prompting or giving them the errorless learning or the correct response. You're just probing. Can they engage in the correct response or not? And you mark that down on your data.
Yeah, exactly. Like usually when we start new targets in a program, we probe. We just see, can they do it or not? We just present the SD and see if the behavior happens. And we don't necessarily correct it at that point. We just need to see if they can do it, then we can move on. If not, then we understand that we need to teach it and then perhaps provide those prompts and that, a little bit more intrusive prompts and reinforcement until they're able to do it independently.
And sometimes like it's really important to do that, because if you assume something of your client before actually testing them or, doing baseline, whatever it is, you could actually limit them in their learning if you were providing, full physical prompts or whatever it may be, and they didn't need that. And someone said, so reflexivity in itself is not equivalence. No, reflexivity, you're going to teach them again. First things first is matching to sample. You got to teach match to sample. They need to be able to do that between other things. So they have to be able to discriminate, right? So when we talk about stimulus discrimination, stimulus generalization, response generalization, that is, again, has to be taught before this stuff too. If they can't discriminate between something, they are not going to be able to pick between something like this. Like if I say, this is a pen, and I have no other pens with me, which is like Liat would have 50. But like if I had a bunch of pens and they were like, oh, pen, and I go, and this is nail polish, right? And they'd say, this is not a pen, right? So you teach that discrimination, right? And then they're able to match to sample. And then you can practice that and move on to this stuff. But first, you got to teach that discrimination. So important, right? You got to be able to discriminate and have conditional discriminations before you can even do a match to sample.
Exactly. And like the reason why we use stimulus equivalence, like clinically speaking, right? For those of you who work with, people with autism, this stuff doesn't come naturally to them like it does with other like neurotypical children who are able to learn a few things from their environment and perhaps generalize a lot more easily. So this is why stimulus equivalence is a good method to teach, because it's a lot more efficient. And not only that, but you cannot possibly teach every SD and every response. So, so clinically speaking, this is a really efficient way to teach. And it really helps to kind of break that rote responding, that if I only present you with this SD, you respond in this particular way. But also like it helps to kind of like form, I guess, it's not a concept per se, but that equivalence class, so that they're able to interchange, like I said, like these stimuli in the equivalence class are interchangeable. So that if I see cat, I know that a cat says meow, perhaps if that's a leg I'm teaching, right? If I hear meow, I know it's a cat. So basically it's creating like an equivalence class that really expands their learning into, different, perhaps it does lead into like concepts, sort of, if that makes sense.
Can I ask one more questions? Again, I guess I'll ask again. So you said two taught relations
Yes.
have to happen before stimulus equivalence is formed. If I use exists, so these apply. The two taught relations apply to transitivity, or how about, so it doesn't apply to reflexivity and symmetry, right? Am I right?
Well, it does. I mean, if you're,
Uh,
and that's the equivalence triangle, like the equivalence formation, or the equivalence class, look at it as a whole. So it's not just about like, I get this relation or that relation, you get all those relations. Transitivity is like, I guess I would say it's the last test to see that, yes, a stimulus equivalence has happened, but it's not the only one.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's not the only one. This is, I guess this would be like the very new responding. So,
Okay.
yeah, so because you've never had to encounter this type of response under this stimulus. So because you can respond in this very brand new way, that's how I know that you've actually formed the stimulus class.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we're gonna break this down through questions, and I'm gonna show you exactly how that works and how to break down the triangle. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Okay, so the image of the cat is A, the spoken word of cat is is B, and then the card cat is C. Is
Okay.
that right?
So here's the thing. Yeah. So I was actually just talking to Casey about
We just
this.
met about this before, and we were laughing because when I was drawing them out in my own, when I was looking through her PowerPoint, and I would read a question, I'd draw them out, and then I'd see her next slide, and I was like, oh, I had B and C switched. It doesn't matter. So she'll go into it. But yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. Basically, like if you understand the logic behind it, the letters don't matter, right? Like in math, if you've ever like taken algebra in high school, right? You know that those letter variables are stand-ins for numbers, right? But they themselves are not really meaningful for anything. So in this way, I feel like the letters are just used to kind of teach you the logic of it, but don't get hung up on, oh, is this A or is this B or is that C or is that B? You know, just try to understand, wrap your mind around the logic of it and how it all operates together, and it will start to make sense.
Okay.
So let's go into the next one, and if you guys still have questions, we'll get to your questions. Okay. All right. So for now, I don't want you to try this yet. I just want you to watch. I'm going to model this for you, and I'm going to show you how I solve this problem. And on the next one, we'll do it together, and then you guys will have an opportunity to do this on your own. To see how well you understand it, and also leave some room for you to ask more questions if needed. All right, so let's break it down. When learning a new language, if you're taught to select a picture of coffee when you see the written word coffee, and you're taught to select a picture of coffee when you see the written word cafe, which of the following would be a symmetrical relation? Oh, I hear an echo. Okay, it's gone. All right, so A, selecting the written word coffee when you see the written word coffee. B, selecting a picture of coffee when you see the written word cafe. C, selecting the written word coffee when you see a picture of coffee. Or D, selecting a picture of coffee when you see the written word cafe. Is anyone else's brain hurting yet seeing a question like this? Because this is kind of a typical question that you'll see on mocks and that you might see in your exam even. So if your brain hurts, hopefully I will help to not let it hurt anymore. All right, here's your task analysis. So I took out the answers just for the sake of saving some space. First step you're gonna do, draw your triangle. Don't draw your arrows yet. If you notice right here, I don't know if you guys can see my cursor right here, but I only drew the first solid line, right? Which is gonna represent the taught relation. Okay, or the learned relation that I'm going to teach you and I'm going to reinforce. The rest of these lines right here are going to be your derived relations. So it's going to be your symmetry, your transitivity. I did not draw reflexivity, so sorry about that. I can when we finish it. And then a little tip, it helps to start with one solid line and then add the other one later. And I'll show you why, because sometimes it can get a little bit messy if you draw the solid lines first. And then you realize that, oops, it actually needs to go in a different direction. So start with one solid line. And again, that's going to be your learned relation. the second step is you're going to map out your learned relations. Okay, so go back to your question and try to gather the information for what relations were learned. So right here it says, if you're taught to select the picture of coffee when you see the written word coffee, okay? That right there tells me that that's a learned relation, right? Select a picture of coffee when you see the written word coffee. So here is my written word coffee down here. And here is the image of coffee up there, the picture of coffee, okay? Now the direction that my arrow is going in, it's going up towards the selected response, okay? So down where at the bottom of the arrow is the sample stimulus, okay, coffee, and then draw the arrow up with the arrow pointing up to the one that you're going to select if you were doing a match to sample. So this is would be the comparison stimuli, okay? Then you're gonna continue reading on the question to see where your other one is, your other taught relation. You're also taught to select a picture of coffee when you see the written word coffee, or written word cafe, sorry. So we know that you select the picture of coffee when you see the written word cafe. So I'm going to start by drawing my arrow, right? Because it says it right there that I select the picture of coffee. And down here is going to be your other stimulus, your comparison, or sorry, your sample stimulus cafe. All right. We mapped out our learned relations and we drew our arrows. Determine what the question is. Okay, so your third step is you're going to look and you're going to see, what is this question asking me to do? And in this case, it's asking which of the following would be the symmetrical relation. Okay, so now this should be easy. I have my triangle right here. So I know that right here, these two arrows right here, these are going to be the symmetrical relation. Can you guys see my cursor?
We can, yep.
Okay, good. Okay. Yeah, so these two arrows right here, these are going to be the symmetrical, right? Because remember, that's just the reverse of what something that you already learned and something that was reinforced. Now you're reversing it. That's symmetry. Find the correct relation in your triangle. Okay, so right here, I just labeled them symmetry, symmetry. All right, great. So I'm going to look at my answers and see if any of my answers match either of these relations, right? So picture of coffee to word coffee or picture of coffee to word cafe. Find the correct answer in your choices. All right, and here, it's not coffee to coffee, that would be reflexive. And it's not picture to word cafe because that's taught, right? That's right here. Selecting the written word coffee when you see the picture of coffee. Let's see, selecting the written word coffee. So yeah, I can select that when I see the picture. So it looks like it is C. And that is symmetry right there.
I love this breakdown so much. I'm drawing it out with everyone. And everyone's saying it's so helpful because the one thing that I think people get confused, again, with the drawing of the triangles, of the like arrows of which way to go, and what you said made such a light bulb for me too, is you draw to what's selected, right? So your arrow is going to go to that selected, right? Yeah. So you're taught this when you select, you know, like you said, so you went from written word coffee to the picture coffee and you drew it up, right?
Yeah.
And that was the taught. And that was like such a light bulb for me as well. And like, so great. I just love this breakdown. And I'm a triangle girl in the collective. Liat and I teach it both ways. She's an equation girl. I'm a triangle girl. So this is speaking to my soul. And anyone else in here is, I hope that it is as well. So this is awesome.
Yay. I'm so happy to hear that. I hope that was helpful. If not, let me know. Or if you're not sure yet, we're going to try one for you to do on your own. And then you're going to tell me that, ooh, I wasn't able to do it. So let's try another one. So get out your pretty pens.
Get your paper out. It's your time. Okay, remember, in your exam, there is going to be things that you have to write on your whiteboard. It is a no, like a deal breaker or whatever it's called. Like you got to do it, right? And the things that you have to write is, if you get a stimulus equivalence question, you draw out your triangle, or if you're an equation person, draw it out in equation. You draw
do it before you even, yeah, exactly.
Draw out your stimulus and response generalization, right? The multiple bubbles we teach in the collective. Those are things that like you cannot, I still can't answer unless I draw them out. So
exactly.
Draw it out.
Exactly. Love it. I'm a visual. I mean, I don't know if I'm a visual learner. I find that like multiple modes really helps. You know what I mean? So learn it through every way that you can. Read it, listen to podcasts, read articles, watch videos. And I feel like that is really helpful to kind of solidify your understanding in a concept. Don't just do one mode. All right. Okay. Deshaun is a first grader who is learning about denominations of money in school. When working with his teacher in a small group, he is taught to select a quarter when presented with the written 0.25, and is taught to select the written word 0.25 when presented with the written word 25 cents. Which of the following would be the test for transitivity? Okay, I'm gonna let you guys read the answers, and then I'm gonna provide you with a prompt. There you go, that's your prompt. And then I'm gonna let you guys work on it and let me know when you're done.
Yeah, I'm gonna need a little bit of time on this.
Take your time.
So I haven't looked at the answer yet, so I'm like, need to get this right.
Okay.
I just want to say that I started to not draw this out, and I picked an answer, and then I was like, let me draw it out. And I was wrong with my first choice.
You have to draw it out.
For sure.
All right, I think I got it. And it's because I just like literally had the biggest light bulb moment with this selected where to draw my errors. I feel like right now, I knew it. I was like, I'm gonna have this big moment.
I mean, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Casey, I'm like seriously fangirling right now if I was able to help you do this.
You and like I love stimulus equivalence. I like am trained in peak, like I get this shit, right? But like the one thing that you said just switched it in my brain, and that's all I needed to make it make sense in a way that like I didn't feel so stressed. And like I could actually I hope my triangle's right. I'm like stressing and my hands are sweating, but woo!
All right, guys, let me know when you're almost done.
Right,
Oh, don't put the answer in. Yeah, oh, that's the other thing. Don't put the answer in.
No, they're sending it privately, which is awesome.
We'll reveal the answer, and then you're going to be able to assess for yourself if you got it right. We can talk about it after I reveal the answer.
Another answer. I've gotten some. I'm sorry. I got all right answers that sent to me in the chat, and like someone was like, "I feel like I got this down." I'm like, "I feel the same way, guys." Like,
yay! Okay, did anyone not get this right? Because in the next one we're going to be doing it independently on your own without prompts. So if you didn't get this right, let me go over it with you.
It's okay if anyone got it incorrect. It's okay, guys. I've been teaching this shit for 2 years. Okay, and so it is something that is not easily learned. It is something that requires repetition and different things like this right now. Yes, my mind is blown as well, as Shannon said in the chat. So I knew tonight, I just knew our girl was going to come through and like blow minds. So let her keep going. I love this.
I'm so excited. No, I'm so excited. I was so nervous, you guys. I was so nervous before this, but no, now I'm super excited.
You should be.
And I love that you guys are getting it. Yeah.
I go, don't be nervous. You know this shit. Like I watched you teach. I'm like, you get this. I love it.
Okay. It says, I got it, but struggled with which to choose to put on top. Okay. Oh, thank you, Marilyn. You struggled with which one to choose to put on top. It doesn't matter if you want to put it on the top or the bottom, just make sure that your arrow is going towards the stimulus that you select, right? So if I present the stimulus, if I show you the stimulus, 0.25 and ask you to select out of three different coins and you select quarter, draw the arrow going up to the quarter. Okay. Do we have time? I think we have a few minutes. I can draw this out.
Yeah.
Let me draw this out.
Yeah, if you draw it out, that'd be great. Because that's like,
All right.
I have my picture like where I drew it out. And I put my quarter at the top.
All right, so let's draw it out, okay? So we're gonna start with step one. Draw your triangle. This is gonna be a little messy, so I apologize in advance. Okay, here's my solid line. All right. The second step is I'm going to basically map out my relations and draw my arrows. So when he's taught to select a quarter when presented with the written 25 cents. So it doesn't matter. You want to put the quarter up here, we can put the quarter up here. Okay. And 0.25 down here. Select quarter when you have the stimulus 25 cents. So select quarter, whoops. Yeah. And then he is taught to select the written 0.25 when presented with the written word 25 cents. So let's write our third one right here. And it says that he selects 0.25. So let me make my other solid line right here with an arrow pointing this way. Okay, now we can solve that because I taught this one, right? This is symmetry right here. He's able to reverse it. I taught this going this way, so he's able to reverse it, which means this right here is my transitivity. Okay, one going up, one going down. It doesn't really matter the order for this one because they're going to go both ways.
You have no idea how I feel that I drew it out exactly like that way, where I'm like, even if you put them in different places, the fact of your arrows and like the solid taught versus the derived, right?
Exactly. I'm teaching it loosely.
Yeah, and it's so amazing, you guys. This is like moments of like, yes, everyone's saying like drawing it out, love this, I get it. It makes a huge difference. So I love it.
Good. I'm so happy that you could. I'm so happy to hear that. Good, because this is confusing, and I know that this confuses a lot of people. And you know, I don't want you to confuse this because this is kind of a difficult concept, and if you don't get it, it's really hard to answer those questions. So I just want you to see the logic of it, to see like the bigger picture of how it all flows together, how it all works together as a unit, and not get hung up on just the individual parts of A or B, or is this, you know, just try to look at it as a bigger picture of how it works together. But yeah, like Casey said, I didn't even draw the transitivity down here as we usually see it. I drew it over here. So just understanding that
and
these were never
and that's
taught.
so funny. That's exactly what I did. I drew the transitivity on that A to, let's say, A to C or whatever it is. Like,
right.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so let's do the next one. This one, you guys are going to be on your own without the prompts. Let's see how you do. Do you want me to read the question or?
I still see the old slide that you're on. Oh, here we go. Okay.
Yeah.
No, let's let everyone read to themselves like they're in
All right. Great.
Go for it.
Answer is A.
Woo! Nice job. Same question. Students, I got it right too.
Oh, good. Yay, you guys are getting it correct. Anyone not get this correct? And it's okay if you didn't. It's okay if you didn't. I will be happy to go over whatever questions you have. Because we got one more coming up and the next one's kind of challenging.
Can you draw it out?
Oh yeah, I sure can. Yeah.
We've got time. I'm gonna plug my computer in, but we've got time.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay. All right. Oops. Not a lot of room here, guys. Bear with me. All right. All right, so Michelle's a teacher who's teaching her students how to tell time. She teaches the students to say 4:30 in the presence of a clock with the shorthand on the 4 and the longhand on the 6. So let's say 4:30. Okay. This is spoken word 4:30. In the presence of a clock. My clock sucks, guys. All right. So this is the selected response. In the presence of a clock, I teach you to say 4:30. And she also teaches the students to choose a card that shows 4:30. Here's the card.
Fatima, we're gonna have to get you an iPad soon so you can draw it out on Good Notes. That's our
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I have this thing right here, and I mean, it was better because I was using my mouse before, and that was not fun.
Don't worry, we'll hook you up. We'll hook you up.
Yeah, I'm an Android person, so I don't really have anything Apple, but I'm thinking I should.
This is
All right, so she teaches the students to choose a card that shows 4:30 when she says 4:30. So this is the other taught response. Okay, so arrow going this way. Oh, and I forgot to draw the arrow going up. All right, now let's reverse it. Here's our symmetry right there. There's our symmetry right there. And there's our transitivity. All right, I know it's not very clear, but perhaps hopefully you had something similar to that. So the second step is I'm gonna see what this question is asking. This one kind of tricked you guys a little bit because it didn't even ask you what it was you were expecting it to ask you. She then presents a clock and asks one of her students to choose a card with the correct time. That is a distraction. You do not need to know that for this question, so be aware of things like that pop up on tests. Which of the following would show that symmetry was derived? Okay, so my relation right here, I'm looking for symmetry, right? Which means I'm looking for selecting the clock in the presence of spoken word 4:30, or I'm looking for speaking the word 4:30 in the presence of a card that says 4:30. And in this case, the student says 4:30, right? Says 4:30 when presented with a card that shows 4:30. All right. So hopefully that is what everybody had. All right, let's do this next one. Casey, I think you're familiar with this question. I've changed this one so many times though.
Yeah. I love it though. All right, let's go.
You guys ready?
Yep. Nice job. I had some good answers. Yay.
All right. If you, oops, sorry. I had a little visual for this one, but yeah. So the answer on this one is B. So this one is asking you which relation was derived, which probe for stimulus equivalence did we just demonstrate? Good. And this one is kind of like a real world example, right? This isn't like your average like match to sample, you know, in the presence of this one, I taught you to select this one. This one is actually like going into like a learning history, right? At some point in her learning history, Shelby learned that the sign for bathroom, right? What I had in my mind is just like the image of, you know, the men's, women's bathrooms, those kinds of pictures. She learned that that is the word or the symbol for bathroom. And then she saw that same picture, but in Spain, it had a different word underneath. So she was able to kind of gather up that information because those were close together. So she's basically able to kind of come up with that answer on her own, I guess. Similar to what would happen if you went to a foreign country and you were to see a symbol that you recognized, but with another word underneath it, like whether it's exit or whether it's, you know, whatever it is.
Can you pull the triangle back up?
Yeah. All right. Oh, and the arrows on this are not complete. So, yeah, so she learned right here that this is the symbol for bathroom. She learned at some point in her learning history that it is equivalent to the word bathroom. Then when she went to Spain, she saw the same symbol with the word baño underneath, right? So in the presence of this stimulus, she is able to learn this one. This is the transitivity right here. So when she sees the word bathroom, she recognizes that the symbol is the correct answer in the presence of bathroom. Same thing for baño. She recognizes that baño is equal to the symbol for bathroom. And then we have transitivity right here. When she saw the word baño in real life on the door, she was able to understand that this is bathroom and she was able to go to the correct location.
I love it.
All right.
So where is the transit? Yeah, I didn't get it. Is it, I can't see the whole picture. Is it a line under the, between the bathroom and the, how do you say baño?
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Can you see it? I can make it smaller.
Please, yeah, please. Fatima.
Yeah.
Can't see the bottom line.
No problem. Can you see that? My little markings went away, but oops.
Oh yeah, I think okay.
Yeah.
Okay, transitivity. Okay.
The bottom transitivity is when you're going to have the dash lines both ways, right? That's when transitivity has occurred, meaning no teaching was required. The teaching or the training is when you're seeing the solid line.
Okay. So what was the information helpful? The picture with the Spanish word. They help us in guiding the answer. I don't know.
Oh yeah, no, and that's what I'm saying is that this is a question that's not like the other questions, and that's why I was saying that this is a little bit harder because you kind of have to figure out the information without the question directly telling you. So it does kind of work your mind a little bit into understanding that. And sometime in her learning history, she learned that the symbol for bathroom, right? This symbol right here was equal to the word bathroom, right? Perhaps when she was little, she needed to use the word bathroom and her mom told her, oh, okay, there's the bathroom, you know, when she only saw the symbol. So she learned that these two things are equal, right? When she went to Spain and she saw a different word underneath the symbol for bathroom right here, she was able to understand that the word baño is also equal to bathroom. When she learned these things, then she was able to derive this. When she saw the word baño, but on its own, she was able to understand that that equals bathroom. That is transitivity right there.
Okay, the bottom line, the very
bottom line. That's
Okay.
transitivity.
Got it.
Is
Thank you.
this making sense for you? Is this making sense?
Everyone's nodding their head. I've seen good things in the chat. It is a very, very, very hard concept, guys. And this question just shows you that it's never going to be, not never, but like it's not always going to be in the presence of Apple. It's an Apple written, it's an Apple spoken, right? It's going to have some of your own derived relations, right? Of your own learning history where you're like, okay, I don't want to assume, we don't want to assume anything in questions, but we need to, in the sense in this question right here, be like, all right, so she's learned these things, even though it didn't say explicitly she was taught, right? So, and that is very important to be able to pull out of test questions. And also when teaching stuff, right? Like being able to, and that's why I love when she did the monster to the weird name in the beginning, like the novel stimulus, right? Like we don't know what our clients know. We don't know anything. So like when you're really teaching true stimulus equivalence, like that novel stimulus or something that like that word that doesn't even make sense, to see if you can actually test for it is so important. And that's why PEAK, I don't know if anyone here has done PEAK. It's an assessment, but it's really based upon the idea of relational frame theory and novel stimuli and trying to teach that way. And it's hard to wrap your head around. It really is. But once you do, hopefully it's good.
Awesome. Yeah, but and like the other point that I was trying to make with a question like this is that it's happening with us all the time. Even though we don't recognize it, like Casey said, we are not taught explicitly everything we know. There's a lot of information that's derived, you know what I mean? So by just making connections between the stimuli and the things that you learn, you're able to make connections in very new ways. So this kind of question kind of hits on that point that I'm trying to make. And that it's not just an autism thing. It's not just, yes, it's a strategy, it's a method that we can use to teach, but it's really like, I feel like it's really just a method in how we naturally learn. So, but we can definitely apply it to our clients. So that's pretty much it. And I hope that you have all benefited from this. I know this was really fun to teach. So I hope that at least you have a very foundational understanding so that when you go to take your exams, I really recommend that you continue to practice this through different mock exams, try to come up with examples on your own, quiz your friends if you guys are studying for the exam, and read more about it. So I think that this is a really good foundational lesson perhaps to kind of guide you into understanding it a little bit deeper.
You did amazing, as I knew you would.
Thank you.
If you guys ever need tutoring, she's an amazing tutor, and her explanations and your questions are great. So I love being here tonight. I had mind-blowing light bulbs too. So hopefully everyone else did. Thank you for taking your time to come join tonight. And yeah, I will stop the recording now.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, I'm going to stop the recording real quick and then yeah, absolutely. All right. Thank you all for coming. Mwah, mwah, mwah.